Cru Edu. We're excited to present this educational opportunity where we are going to delve into what it takes to run a zoo. We have our nation's youth in mind, and we hope that this series educates and provides information for those who are interested in pursuing careers in the zoological field. So here's a little Zoo 101. The dictionary defines a zoo as an establishment which maintains a collection of animals, typically in a park or garden, for study, conservation, and for display to the public. The word zoo actually comes from a Greek word which means animals, and in this context is short for zoological park. The mission of the Alabama Gulf Coast Zoo is to create a compelling experience that connects people and community with wildlife and inspires personal responsibility for conservation of the natural world. We have 4 action words that we choose to live by here, and they are education, conservation, adventure, and community. Animals have been kept by people for thousands of years, but not to reflect a modern zoo. Carvings from Egypt and Mesopotamia show that aristocrats would keep unusual animals as far back as 2500 BC. Records have been found with wealthy people actually go on expeditions, and they would bring back giraffes, elephants, bears, dolphins, birds, and many more animals. There's even evidence that they would hire animal handlers to take care of their menageries. These sorts of things were common in other ancient civilizations as well, including China, Greece, Rome, and the ancient Aztecs. The modern public zoo was popularized during the Age of Enlightenment. This was a period of time in the 18th century in Europe when people took a great interest in science, reason, and logic. Parlors were large parties where people would get together and discuss their ideas and deliberate new scientific discoveries. Zoology, or the study of animals, was one of the many topics they would speculate about. Scientists wanted to study things like animal behavior and anatomy. The first modern zoo was actually built in Paris, France in 1793. It is still a popular facility today, and it is filled with animals that were taken from French aristocrats during the French Revolution. The first zoo in the United States was built in 1874 in Philadelphia and is now today known as the Philadelphia Zoo. And it's a super important breeding facility for a lot of endangered animals. Zoos today are meant to educate the public and have strong emphasis on scientific research and species conservation. Here at the Alabama Gulf Coast Zoo, we take great pride in our educational experiences that we offer throughout the park. So not only do we have special educational shows and activities for school groups, but we also are always available. Every single keeper here just loves to answer questions and know what you guys are interested in hearing about when you visit the zoo. So now let's talk about some of the careers that are involved in a zoo facility. There's a reason when people say this place is a zoo, it means the place is crazy, you know. It's because zoos are always a crazy place to work. We always have something new going on, and there's a million different components that have to work together to make a zoo run smoothly. So they're kind of like a well-oiled machine where all the cogs have to work together. There's several departments that go into operating a zoo, things like animal care, veterinary care, but aside from that, there's also finance, public relations, marketing, all sorts of things that might not even realize go into running a zoo. So think of it kind of like a state. There's a director, right? And he's kind of like the governor. And each department is kind of a county, where each county runs separately of each other county, but they all report back to the governor, or in this case, the director, who oversees the overall general operations. Our director here at the zoo is Mr. Joel Hamilton, and we caught up with him, and we talked a little bit about what he does for our facility. What are your responsibilities as director of the zoo?
My job is to oversee all the operations of the zoo and the various departments to help keep it as a smooth running machine.
Did you always want to be a zoo director?
No, I actually started out in the business thinking that I was going to be a veterinarian, but I've always wanted to work in zoos regardless.
for?
I've actually been sort of described as a professional student when I was in school, but I've gotten a bachelor's degree in biology, then I got a second undergraduate degree in exotic animal training and management from Moore Park College, and then later on I went back to school and I got a master's degree in landscape architecture.
What is the best part of your job?
Well, the best part of the job, other than working around all these great animals, is working with a dedicated staff who really cares about animal welfare and about conservation of the world.
What's the worst part of your job?
Really, the days that the decision has to be made to put one of these animals down, I find to definitely be the worst part of the job.
Last but not least, what advice do you have for anyone who wants to work in a zoo field?
It's a difficult field to work in. It takes a lot of manual work. You're out there, you have to be dedicated to the animals, and it's a job with animal keeping that you have to do 365 days a year, whether it's raining, whether it's hot, whether it's snowing, any of that, the animals have to be taken care of. But the great thing about the zoo, working in zoos, there are so many different jobs that somebody can do. It's not just about taking care of animals. There's development, and there's PR, and there's marketing, and there's human resources, and there's concessions and gift shops. There's a wide variety of opportunities in zoos to work within the field and be a part of that conservation and education of our guests.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What are your responsibilities? So after hearing from our director, Joel, I hope you guys have a little bit more insight into what it takes to run a zoo and how many different careers are possible here in the zoo. Thank you so much for joining us on our first edition of Zoo Cru Edu. But before you go, we do have one last minute assignment for you guys. We want to hear from you guys. I want you guys to email our zoocruedu@algolfcoastzoo.org and tell us what you guys want to do when you grow up. We want to know what interests you. Do you want to be a vet? Do you want to be a zookeeper? Or what about a director? We want to hear it all. So shoot us an email and let us know. Join us next week when we talk about how important schooling is for careers in the zoo. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.